Hi, it's Stephanie. Welcome to Ageless. I'm so glad you're here. You'll get to meet a friend of mine who will share her story. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I have the privilege of speaking to someone that I haven't seen in almost 20 years. She's used her skills to better the lives of children in the local school district, on top of being a very busy wife and mom. Lydia, it's good to see you, and thanks for being here today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you. Please tell us what drew you into the field of education.
Being obedient to the Lord's calling. So I went to school first in business because my dad was an educator, and just a little I knew about educators. They didn't make a lot of money. And so in my mind, I thought I want to be in business because business makes money. So I went to school to major in business, and I was working at a local bank, Georgia Federal. I don't even know what they call it anymore. I worked there for several years while I was going to school, and I eventually stopped going to school and started working full time because I was making money. Then, like companies do, they bring in people. So I was in a position. I had start going up the company, and I won't give any names, but they brought somebody in, and I had to train my boss.
Oh.
And so I was like, well, if I got to train my boss, I'm going to need to leave because if I can't be the boss. So I was in a quandary, like, what do I do? Because business is not working out like I want to. And in the meantime, my dad had told me from the beginning that I need to go into education, but I didn't want to do that because they didn't make enough money. So what I did, and I prayed about it, and I did something unconventional. I would not recommend this to anyone. But I took the Georgia State student handbook, and I told the Lord, wherever it opens, that's what I'll do. That's not something you need to do unless you are really tight with the Lord. So I did it, and it literally fell onto the college education. So I was like, okay, because I told the Lord I would do whatever it fell into, and so I went back and got my degree in education. I actually, when I was getting ready, I had a evaluation. I was getting ready to get another promotion, and I had to stop them and tell them, before you finish that sentence, I need to tell y'all something. Okay. I'm getting ready to go back to school and get my degree in education. So that's how I ended up in education. Unorthodox.
Well, that's a pretty cool way just to flip the book open and it falls right there. It tells you what to do. That's absolutely interesting, but God always uses whatever
that person needs. Whatever. That's not, everybody should not flip a book open.
Yes, that's true. Well, when you look back, what was one of the things you sought to do as a teacher to inspire your students?
That they could do it, because school was hard for me. So a lot of people who knew me thought it was funny that I would go to school in education and be a teacher because school was hard for me. And so I wanted to make school as pleasant and enjoyable and understandable as it had been made for me at some point, not all the time, but at some points I had some teachers who made it enjoyable and understandable for me. And I wanted to do that for students that were like me.
How did you encourage them to better themselves and do even better than where you struggled in school?
What did I do?
How did you connect with them?
I shared my story. A lot of times I tell them, I was like that. I struggled. Some of the things I remember, like my parents did for me, I did for them in the classroom. That, whether it was flashcards or spell it out for them, make it plain. I just did what I either had done for me from the good teachers or what I wish the teacher had done for me.
Were there any teachers that you can think of now that influenced you or gave you some nuggets back then that you used in your career as a teacher?
Yes. Second grade, Miss Parkinson. She told me I wasn't doing well on my spelling test, and she knew I could do better. I didn't know I could do better, but she knew I could do better. And I remember she called me up and she told me, and you don't learn this in your education courses. She said, you are not allowed to get anything less than 100 again. That's probably, they probably tell you not to say that because they think you could damage a child, but it terrified me because I was like, I can't get anything less than 100 again because she said so. You have to be careful when you do it, but I've done that with some of the kids because I knew they had it in them. but they needed someone to believe in them and not give them a way out, because I didn't have a way out. She was like, you just cannot get less than 100 ever again on the spelling test. Unconventional again, but it worked.
It was that belief.
Yeah, and it did something in my, literally, I could feel it did something in my brain. It turned something over that said, oh, I can do it. She unlocked something.
That's
so
cool. I'm also an educator and or retired. And
I understand. That's the best part.
yeah. But there was a teacher when I was in school who really made music come alive. I'm a music teacher. And because of her, that's partly why I went into education, because I wanted to do what she did for me. So yeah, and you've done that for your students as well. Awesome. Well, let's talk about your early years. You've had the privilege of being around a lot of wonderful people in the ministry. Your parents are also in the ministry, and your father served as a pastor of a local church for many years. That's only the tip of the iceberg for both of them. Tell us first what it was like being a PK or a pastor's kid.
Actually, it was pretty cool. A lot of people think it wasn't, and we did have a hard way to go sometimes because of the expectations, but my parents were grounded. They made it as normal. I guess the expectations came from other people putting on us what they thought a PK should be or do. My parents never put that on us, and they just raised us normally in a Christian upbringing, which is, if you do that, then you can be any profession, you know. It wasn't really any different. We had a lot of good friends around us. I'm still friends with four of my dad's assistant pastors, their kids. We're still friends today. And so we had each other. It really wasn't as bad as seen that it can be bad, because they did expect a lot out of you. But our congregation, they put their arms around us, you know. And my dad had to train them, of course, to traditionally, it was like the pastor, you fed the pastor. And if he had wife or children, oh, well. But you invite the pastor over on Sunday and you feed him, and you didn't think about the family. So he had to do some training, like, I don't come without them. And they sit at the same table that I sit at. Once they understood that we were a package, you know, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been, like I've heard from some other PKs, because there is a lot but
yes, because they want you to be perfect, and you have to spout the Bible, and you have to wear certain clothes and do certain things.
Yes, but Daddy said something to us and to them. He said the pastor's kids play with the members' kids, so you know, we get it from each other. So if we were learning anything, if a member would say that, well, she was playing with your child, you know, vice versa. So to keep it equal, that, you know, we rub off on each other. So
basically the playing field should have been level with
it was level, because he made it level, that we are, first of all, we're all sinners saved by grace. And we just have different jobs. He was a pastor, but he was also an educator, and he advocated for people to just be the best at whatever it is God called them to be. So you were a pastor at your job, you know, you were a teacher or missionary at your job. So he just happened to do it on Sundays and Wednesdays.
Well, not many of us had the opportunity to live on a college campus, and you and I believe your sister did. As we're thinking about being ageless, your presence there definitely fits this idea. You were surrounded by a range of ages. How did you navigate that time in your life, and what were your friendships like? So speaking really mainly of women.
I don't know if I navigated, because that's all I knew. So I didn't come from like being in a neighborhood and then coming to a college campus. I was born on a college campus. So that's all I knew. And so friends, they were on a college campus, you have young adults. So they were in their teens. So I had a lot of babysitters. So they were friends that way. They would braid my hair. They would help my mom take care of us, like braiding hair and babysitting. When you say friends, I think of friends like close friendships, but we were acquaintances.
Okay.
So I guess there were some friends, because my parents sponsored two men now from Haiti, and they were like my brothers. So there were some people on campus that we became like family. As far as navigating, I don't think I navigated, because navigating implies that you didn't know your way around. That's all I knew.
So that's where you were. That's where you started.
So I didn't know any other place but a college campus.
What were some of the positives of being surrounded by women who were older than you, and how did that impact your belief in Jesus Christ?
The positive, I learned a lot from my mom. And then even as they went out to start the church, so they would go out on the weekends and witness and invite people to church and start a church. So I got to see a lot of diversity in the way people ran their house or held their house or what put their house together, like decorating and cooking. Because we were in people's houses so much, I got to see the way women operate in different, like the ones who cook, the ones who don't like to cook, the ones who were working, the ones who didn't work. I saw it all up close and personal. So I had a catalog of any kind of woman you could name. I probably had seen her, probably been in her house, because Daddy, he was witnessing to the masses. And so Jesus doesn't care who comes. So we would go to people's houses of all categories, working moms, single moms, divorced, like I said, people who cooked, people who didn't cook, people who had a lot of money, people who didn't have any money, different nationalities, even different states, like Louisiana cooked different than Florida. So I saw it all.
And I want to emphasize, you just did not stay in your culture. It was all races that you
We're all
had.
races. Because even if Daddy wasn't ministering to draw people into the church, we had to get support. So a lot of times those churches were white, and we have to go, they call it deputation. So we have to go to their churches and stay at their houses. And that was a totally different experience. The way their houses were set up, how their husband interacted with them or not, whether you spanked your kids, time out. I mean, I just saw the gamut, just depending on whose house I was in.
So how has the influence of being amongst many believers, especially the students on the college campus and the people that you've had the opportunity to be with when you guys were traveling, empowered you to let your light so shine, or in other words, encourage you to live for Jesus and that he was not a myth and is not a myth?
I think because I saw so many different people come to Jesus so many different ways that I'm more open. I don't know, I'm more open to the way Jesus operates in people's lives. He can save a drug addict. He can save a millionaire. He can save a GM worker. I just know God can do it all because I've seen him do it all in different people's lives. And they professed the same Jesus, whether they were black or white, rich or poor. They had that in common. That was the common denominator. And so sometimes it can not a stumbling block, but sometimes it gets in my way because I believe so big that God can do anything that sometimes I get discouraged when he doesn't, because I've seen alcoholics come to Jesus. I've seen my daddy take a gun from a woman that's going to kill her husband. Then she's teaching a Sunday school class. That's night and day. And I know Jesus did that. And so I just think Jesus can do it, and he can. It's like, it's not rhetoric. He can do anything.
Well, that's what the word says. There's nothing impossible.
Right.
As we're talking, would you please introduce us to some of the women in your life, whether it's from the time you were living on campus up until now, that have shaped you in a way where Jesus is real? And the person that I want to start with is your mom, who has touched many lives, not just on that college campus.
So yeah, mom would be first. And again, because he's a big God, she was from a little southern town in Georgia. She was a preemie. She didn't know who her dad was. She was born premature, legally blind, and to take her from a small town in Podunk, Georgia, to where she is now, where she's been, the places that she's been, again, made God real and alive, that he can do anything. Like, she found Jesus turning the radio station, she was cleaning up the house, and she liked to dance. So she was looking for some music and she stumbled upon, I think it was radio Bible class. That's what it was. And she listened and she got saved, and she ended up going to Grace Bible College. But she went there, and again, that's a big God to take a little Black girl that's legally blind, no fundamental Christian education at all, to a Bible college in Omaha, Nebraska, and to marry a man from another small town, and to reach the world, the people worldwide. That's like a made for TV movie, because a lot of times people don't leave their cities, especially Blacks in the South. And she did. She's a shining example that God can do anything. He can take you anywhere. He can open any door. And again, sometimes that gets in my way because I'm like, I can do anything because I got God with me,
Mm-hmm.
or He's ahead of me. Yeah, she would be the first one. And then, of course, my sister and my daughter, they're wrapped up in that too, because, we come as a package, all four of
Mm-hmm.
us. My friend Grace, she's like a sister. She keeps it real with me. She understands me, so she pulls all my pieces together a lot of
Okay.
times. Like I dump stuff out and she puts it together for me. So that would be Grace. Janice, at church, she helped me a lot in two ways. She had cancer
Mm-hmm.
and God healed her. So again, God can do anything. And she also helped me when my husband and I were going through marital issues.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, you need to get rid of the white picket fence.
Mm.
And that freed me.
Mm.
Because you see it on TV and you see it with other people. You want the perfect life, the perfect marriage, the perfect kids and whatever. And she said to me, you got to get rid of the white picket fence because life is not like that. And
Right.
I got rid of the white picket fence. I was able to deal with life a lot better. I need to go back to Grace because Grace said this to me, but Grace's mom said this to her, and it came from Elizabeth Elliot.
Mm.
One of the things I live by now is just do the next thing. And that came from Elizabeth Elliot. Like when you get in a bind, it's like, what do I need to do, Lord? How do I do it? When do I do it? The mantra is just do the next thing, whether that's putting the clothes in the wash machine, calling somebody to check on them, having your devotions, but just do the next thing. Because sometimes we can't go that far ahead, even though we want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much. But if you just do the next thing and then do the next thing and do the next thing, then you'll get it done. I had two friends when I was teaching. Patrice is one of them, and then my friend Vicky. Patrice was the one who kept me grounded as far as being excellent, knowing your craft. Did a lot of research about even learning strategies or curriculum or whatever. She helped me research it and find out like the background of it. Why are we doing this? How do we do it? And even though a lot of times as an educator, they roll out something and they give you the highlights,
Yes.
but you don't know why you're doing it or where it came from. Like
Mm-hmm.
who thought this up and why did they think it up? Was it for special needs child? Was it for a regular ed child, particular population? So she helped me with that a lot. And then my friend Vicky, we call her the queen. She made teaching fun. It would be nothing for her to bust in my room with her kids in tow behind her. And she'd be like, okay, we're going to do, have y'all done spelling yet? Or have you done reading yet? No. Well, let's do it together. And then she just have her kids come sit on the floor with my kids. Or she was good at getting on the table and dancing too. We turn on the music so the kids can dance. She taught me that teaching was fun and that learning was social. My other three people are the friends in my prayer group, Esther, Sonia, and Angela. And I have to include Maurice, even though he's not a woman, but
That's
we
okay.
we
That's okay.
we come as a package. And so I can't leave Maurice out. They were there at the beginning. Esther knew me before I was born. She's 3 months older than I am. We've been together since then, and our parents, and then Sonia and Angela and Maurice, their dads were my dad, assistant pastors at one point. And we've just stayed in touch, and it's like we're kids again, like we're still kids. We text each other every day and we pray for each other, counsel each other, encourage each other. So those three ladies and Maurice have, they have a special place. And they draw me back, they turn me back to, because, when you go through things in your life, you have friends that you can turn to that will sympathize with you, but they'll also turn you back. Like, I've been through this. We can get through this. And then they turn you back to the Lord. It's not like, woe is me. My friend has gone through this and everybody falls apart. We just draw closer together. And at different times, we've had to take the lead when some of us were going through something and remind ourselves, that God is in control and that, we have each other if we need each other, but the God that our parents taught us about, that we sat, Sunday after Sunday, Wednesday after Wednesday, and even at each other's houses when the dads were strategizing, like what neighborhood to go witness to, whatever, we saw the Lord work.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the same God,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Mm-hmm. That's really amazing. As I'm listening to you, you have that set group of friends that you've had all your life,
Mm-hmm.
and they continue to pour into your life, and you're almost like siblings, sort of.
We are, yes.
On top of your sister,
Mm-hmm.
and the closeness that you guys have. So there's this real intimate relationship, not just with your sister, but this other group that
Mm-hmm.
you've grown up with. And then you've got all of the other women that have connected with you, whether it be school or through the church. You have a wealth of care that has been placed
Resources. I
into
call them
you,
resources.
where it's made you grow, it's made you be the person that you are, and it's allowed you to share with other people because people were willing to pour into you.
Right.
It's not just the same type of person. They're
Mm-mm.
very people.
Yeah.
And you
Very
can be,
different.
well, and you can be transparent with them, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
people need. People who are willing to be transparent and willing to accept that, hey, this, you're not thinking clearly on
Right.
this.
Right.
This is where you need to be and
Mm-hmm.
be okay. And you might get mad.
I did get mad.
Yeah, but when you come back
Mm-hmm.
together, that being mad or upset is only for a minute because that's helping you get to where you need to be, and it gives you the realization that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking clearly on this matter, or I didn't do that correctly, and somebody was lovingly willing to come back and tell
Mm-hmm.
me that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what real relationships are all about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a relationship when it's like siblings because you can't not be siblings anymore. So these
Hmm.
ladies, even when they've corrected me or I've been down in the dumps, they pull me back to the brink. They could be mad at me, but they still love me.
Hmm. But it's nice when you can be mad at each other and say whatever you want to say and be able to the next day come back and
Right,
go get
right,
something to eat.
right. Just don't hold grudges. It's
You don't
like,
hold grudges. Yeah.
hmm
Waste too much time
yeah,
doing that,
yeah.
So why do you think it's difficult for women to just be themselves and connect with other women?
One reason is not it's not rocket science. It's that we're too busy. It's not even that deep. It's like we're so busy taking care of other people and our things that we just don't have time to develop friendships. And then I'm sure the other reasons are the emotional reasons, but the biggest reason is because we just don't have time. Like you said, I think before we got on, that we don't take care of ourselves so that we can take care of somebody else. I think that just gets in the way. You're tired. Bottom
Hmm.
line, just tired.
Hmm. Do you find that many women, especially Christian women, struggle with identity? That their value is basically more about what's on the outside rather than on the inside?
I have seen that, but like I said before, I've seen so many different women that the stats are not necessarily as bad as they seem because there are some
Okay.
women, I guess because of the sheer number of women that I've been involved with because of Daddy's ministry, I've seen they do find their identity in Christ or they come to terms with they've got to take care of themselves, but it's easy to fall back into that
Hmm.
because again the time because we're nurturers taking care of it's not like again it's not deep, it's not the psychological thing that a lot of people probably talk about, it's just the physicality of not having time to do all that you need to do or want to do, maybe not need to do but want to do.
So how can you fix that? How can you make you more of a priority? Not saying that nothing else is important, but how can you take care of you?
You have to purpose that and then surround yourself with people that do the same thing and encourage you to do it.
Hmm.
So that if you say, I need to get off the phone because I need to go take a nap, they understand. You have to have that relationship with people that I'm not getting off the phone because I don't want to talk to you anymore. And what you're saying is not valid or what you're going through is not important. But if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I think a lot of times as women, we think we owe it to each other to be there for each other all the time. But if you don't get recharged, then both of y'all are going to flatline.
Absolutely. Yes, that's true. That's true. You have a beautiful daughter who has followed in her mom's footsteps as an educator. How have you encouraged her to appreciate who she is, not based on the outer shell, but understanding and embracing the fact that she has been fearfully and wonderfully made by God?
Just that, I gave her to the Lord, dedicated her and Neil when they were younger. And I have to constantly remind myself that we're stewards.
Hmm.
God gave her to me because they're my children. You take it a little personal. Like when she told me she wanted to be a teacher, I literally went in the bedroom and cried
Oh,
because I knew how hard it was.
yes.
Grand scheme of thing, it is great, but it's not like the teacher you see on TV kind of thing. It's hard work.
I know it really is.
It's hard work. So I cried. And then my friend Janice said to me, she's telling you that what you lived in front of her was important and that it mattered because she wants to do what you're doing. And
Hmm.
I just never thought about it that way because I was like, I didn't want her to go through the pain of teaching that I did. But that's part of being a teacher, the good and the bad. So I just remind her when she said that's what she wanted to do. I was like, after I wiped my tears, I was like, if that's what God wants you to do, then I'll support you.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
she's
she's
good
good
at it.
at it. She's
She's
good
very
at it.
good.
Yes, like her mom was.
So
How have you encouraged her to connect with other women, whether they're older or younger, developing those real, meaningful, and beneficial friendships? Nothing flighty, but something encouraging to help her grow.
well, I'm laughing because at church we have a ladies auxiliary, ladies group,
Mm-hmm.
and last year she and another young lady at church were co-president
Oh,
of their committee, and it is night and day because like they came with fresh ideas because they're young, and they had to deliver them to people who don't have such fresh ideas, and they had to deliver it to them gracefully and patiently. And so that's why when you said that, that's like that was one way I encouraged her. I didn't tell her to take it on. When they asked her, they asked me, and I was like, if you got her, you got me. So I'm not going to do it because she lives in my house. So it's like whatever she's going through, I'm going to be going through it. So both of us
yes.
don't need to have an official title.
Yeah.
Because I helped her like she helps me. That's one way that I told her to hang in there. You got to be respectful, but they need fresh ideas, and you also need to hear tradition, like how they used to do it and why they used to do it, and combine both of those.
Mm-hmm. So connecting is important,
Yeah.
and you kind of touched on it a little bit. How valuable is it for younger women to connect and be inspired or encouraged by somebody that might be a few years or a few decades older than them?
It's very valuable because some things you don't have to live through, you can learn about. I think, like I said earlier, about me seeing all different kinds of women, there were some things that I was like, absolutely, I will not be doing that. Or, yeah, I will be doing that. It's very valuable that you have an intersection of all types of women in all generations because they can save you from stuff. They can push you into stuff as well, encourage you into stuff. So it is very valuable. It's
Okay.
like life saving kind of valuable.
So let's flip it. Why would you think it positive for older women to connect with a younger woman?
To loosen up.
I like that. Loosen up.
Yep. So, because we're set in our ways and things have changed. Even like dating, they don't date the same way anymore. It's like online. You meet at the place, at the venue, which I understand now because it's like you don't know who you're meeting. You don't bring everybody to your house. So it makes sense now. But at the time, I was like, what? Why can't they come over to the house? And now I realize we don't know them that well. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you need to meet them in a wide open spot where police and
Yes, so
other
people can see.
right. So I had to loosen up. So yeah, they loosen us up as young women.
Yes, because we do get set in our ways.
And tunnel vision, you only see it one way, and there's other ways and easier ways too,
Mm-hmm.
that we just didn't know about.
Yes. How have you connected with various women, and how are you encouraging those women in your circle to continue building those connections, not just in a specific age group, but with all women?
How I'm connecting is just constant communication, whether it's texting, seeing on Sunday, going shopping, calling on the phone, however we can connect, visiting each other's house.
How are you going to help someone else?
Well, just to continue to do it, and I hope that they will see what's that commercial, you tell somebody and you tell two people and you tell two people. That's just the way my group flows out. Hopefully that's what they're getting from me, that's how we do it, that's how we do life.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't really talk about your sister, but you guys have a deeper bond. I mean, you have a
Yes.
connected bond.
Yes.
And you can share a little bit about that. But I also want to say it's sad when you have a sister and you don't have that connection with her. There's this irritation there that you can't
Mhm.
get along. And so you don't have that. How would you explain your connection with your sister?
My parents, specifically my dad, he was like, when mom and daddy die, that's all you have.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, you better get along. So we just determined early, if it's going to be us two, we might as well make the best of it. So it's not like we didn't have any rifts here and there. We did, but not much because mom and daddy did. It was like, we was the four of us. We didn't have time to bicker because daddy had a mission. And like I said, he said to us, you only have each other, so you need to take care of each other. And we took that to heart. It's like, well, if we only have each other, we need to take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
We are like night and day. In some areas, I would fuss at Kazia, but
Yes,
nobody else better. Because like the police say, they
that's
don't like to go to domestic calls because the woman will turn on them. That was like, I'll be fussing at her, but don't you dare,
yeah.
don't you dare say anything to her.
God has created us so wonderfully, and He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have us in age groups. So we do that to ourselves. So it's time that we take the steps and tear down age walls and connect with one another.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear the word ageless, how would you define that?
I'm visualizing that you're flowing between destinations. Ageless means you can be young, you can be old. If you can't be old or young, you can at least relate to being old, because sometimes you're going to be the oldest, sometimes you're going to be the youngest in the group. Angela and I are doing some get-togethers with the ladies at our church that are older, so we're the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And we get them together. But then, when I do stuff with Regina and, in the committees, I'm the oldest. We're the oldest, and Regina's group is the youngest. So it's ageless. It's just you're able to flow between people, events. That's what I say. I just see a river. Ageless is like a river.
So if I said to you, Lydia, you are ageless, how did that make you feel?
It made me feel good and powerful. Ageless means that you can connect, that you're not tied down. You can be there for whatever you need to be there, whatever circumstance it is. What you bring you to the table, whether it's wisdom or whether it's curiosity. To be ageless is a compliment.
Being ageless is just living. It is a freedom. It's a flow.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We're almost at the end.
Okay.
If you were a spice, which one would you be? And how would you sprinkle that spice on a woman to encourage her and to help her be the woman God has created her to be?
Okay. So first of all, that's an unfair question because I don't like to cook.
Well,
So I got to think about some spices. It's a spice.
mm-hmm.
But cinnamon's coming to mind, but I don't know why. Maybe that's the only one I really work with. Because it's easy. I have been trying garlic lately.
That's good.
This is a new spice. I haven't even started using it on my food yet. I've been taking the capsules. Turmeric.
Oh yeah, yeah.
From what I understand from turmeric, it helps with inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
So it brings the swelling and the pain down or even out. But it also has flavor. It adds flavor to. So sometimes, like I said, sometimes you have to be a ramrod and you gotta use the turmeric for medicinal purposes. And then sometimes you're that river where you're flowing and you use it to accent your meals.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still learning about turmeric, but from what I understand, it can go both ways. For a woman to sprinkle turmeric on, to me would be, if you need the medicinal part of it, it's there. And if you just need it to accent, it does that. It depends on what's being brought to it or what you're sprinkling it on. It does what it needs to do when it gets there.
I'm impressed that you have 3 spices that you can name.
Well, I haven't used turmeric to cook with yet. I've just taken it.
Well, Lydia, thank you for your willingness to share your heart. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the women to encourage them, or, you have the last words?
I think the most important thing is that God can do anything. Nothing is impossible. It sounds cliche, but without God, you just cannot you just can't anything. So I guess I would encourage women to be real, to know that God accepts any kind of woman and turn them into His light. It doesn't matter what you've done, where you've been, how long you've done it, that He can take your life, even if it's not your life, your circumstance that you're in right now. You might be a believer, but you might be going through something and you think that you don't know what to do. Besides doing the next thing, trusting that God can. God can. That's it. God.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being with us on Ageless today. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Lydia.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hey, my friend. Thanks for joining me today on Ageless and for being an amazing part of this journey. Don't forget, you have been fearfully and wonderfully made. Go out today and live this life vibrantly. Until next time, bye for now.